Well, hello everybody. It's been a minute since we made a video, and as you can see, some things have changed. We sold our 1982 four-wheel camper to a guy down in Arizona and dropped it off in Tucson. And then a couple weeks later, we went and bought ourselves a new to us 2007 four-wheel camper Hawk.
So we decided at the end of our trip to Alaska.
We decided in the middle of our trip to Alaska.
Yeah, sort of that the Grandby wasn't the right camper for us. Largely actually because it was too big for our truck.
Yep.
The truck bed size, it's just not the right fit.
It was an 8-foot bed camper, and we have a short bed 6.5-foot bed truck. That, and also I've been working at the four-wheel camper dealer, and I've been around a bunch of new campers, and although our old camper was really amazing in a ton of aspects and it allowed us a ton of freedom and got to take an amazing trip with it, we only kind of bought it as a proof of concept to see if we liked the truck bed camper and if we liked the pop-up camper and if it worked for us. And I think our conclusion at the end of the trip was, yeah, this is amazing, but it'd be great to have a different camper that was a little bit better for our needs.
I think another part of the reason that we decided to get rid of our old camper or switch to a newer camper was we put a lot of time and money and effort into that camper and really loved it. And also, its shell was still like a 40-year-old camper,
45-year-old camper.
And so we were at a precipice where it was like, do we continue to put more money into this to make it nicer, or are we kind of, for lack of a better idiom, putting lipstick on a pig, continuing to do that? Plus knowing that it didn't fit in our truck bed, plus knowing that Henry couldn't stand up straight in it, and plus knowing that some of the things in it just were a little bit dated in terms of just the craftsmanship, just because four-wheel campers, it was within the first 10 years of four-wheel campers existence, that one had been made, and we've come a long way since then.
Yep.
And so there's just newer things and newer amenities that were interesting to us, so we wanted to get a new one.
Yeah.
Newer.
So we found a loving home for our old camper. It's down in Tucson with a guy who really loves it and matches his truck perfectly. He's super stoked on it. And we took that money that we got out of the camper and took some more, and we went out to Flathead Lake, Montana, which we actually drove by on our way home from Alaska, and picked up this camper here. It's like I said, it's a 2007 four-wheel camper Hawk. It's got a bunch of really nice amenities and options that it came with.
All right, let's go take a closer look at the camper, and we'll go into more detail about what we love about this particular model of four-wheel camper.
So we'll start on this side of the camper. This is the passenger side of the camper. Obviously, we have an awning. This awning was optioned in the camper. It's called a Fiamma awning. Fiamma's the brand. It's sweet. It just cranks out. There's a little crank handle that we could show you if you're curious, but you just crank it out and then you set out the legs, and that's it. We had an awning on our old camper, but it was a much cheaper awning, and you had to roll it out and set up. It was just a huge pain in the butt to set it up. It was sweet, but this is a nice upgrade. If you get in a little bit closer, we have an exterior light on this side. I threw some LED bulbs that I had in there, so that's nice. We have a window just like our old camper. And then another thing that's awesome about this camper compared to our old camper is it has corner jacks. So you put jacks on all four corners and you just jack it up and get it out of the bed, which is way easier than our old camper, which had really sketchy post jacks that you had to set up, and it was a whole nightmare. Coming around the back, you can see this canvas is in really beautiful shape. That was another thing about our old camper. The canvas was leaky and cracky and dry rotted. This canvas is in really great shape. It's also a newer material. This is what they make whitewater rafts out of, and it's a way more durable than the old stuff. We got another porch light back here. It also is optioned with these floodlights. I'll probably upgrade these to a nicer LED off-road light at some point in time. We got a little window, a little handle, screen door, which is part of the main door, which is pretty sweet, and latches. And over here on the back side, we got our propane locker right here. That's down there instead of on over here like it used to be on our old camper. All right, now we're on the driver's side of the camper. Another thing to mention about this upper canvas, our old camper just had one big window and a teeny little vent over here. This new camper has two medium-sized windows, which is really nice. In the bed area, you can look out these windows when you're laying in bed, which is really sweet. We have a fridge vent. This is our heater for the actual heater for the house. We have an outdoor storage area, which is really sweet. And there's a shower head in here and some additional stuff. We also have a power cable, so you can plug this thing to shore power, which is just a 110 outlet, and it'll run the fridge and all the other appliances and charge the battery, which is sweet. We didn't have that in our old camper. This right here is a shower port. So that little shower head that was in here, this guy, you just stick it in this port right here, and then you have hot and cold water. We have hot water. So this is a water heater. It's a tanked water heater. It's a 4-gallon water heater. You just turn it on and it heats up your water, and then you have basically instant hot water for 4 gallons, which is also really amazing. It heats the water in probably like less than 5 minutes. And we both took really nice, comfortable hot showers, which was really amazing. Our old camper had a hot water heater, but it was an on-demand hot water heater, and it did not work nearly as well as this hot water heater. It was like impossible to get the temperature dialed in, and the flow was, it just didn't work that well. This is just our water fill. Nothing to see there. There is an option. You can just run a garden hose straight to this with the hose on, and it will provide water to the system without having to use a tank. So if you're at somewhere that has RV hookups, you can hook up your shore power and your water, and you don't have to use any of your resources that you have stored inside the camper. About the bed overhang part. So this part is 10 inches deep. Our old camper was probably like 6 maybe. And then the next generation was 8, and then after, from 2004 on, they started making them 10 inches deep. So this is where that extra depth inside the bed area comes. Like the mattress comes up to here, so we can put that much bedding, and we'll show you that on the inside. Additionally, our old camper, its overhang ended probably about here. So this is like 2 times longer, if not longer, than our old camper overhang. So the bed area is just ambiently way bigger. This is what we were talking about getting in the camper previously. Our tailgate came all the way out to here, so there's a big step that you had to make to get into it. My truck has a step bumper on it, which is really sweet because it gives us a step to get into the camper. I fit in this camper, which is really sweet. This is me standing up fully. I'm 6'8", and I have like that much headroom, which is really sweet. I did not fit in the old camper, and I was always like this, which was really kind of a bummer. Pretty standard 4-wheel camper stuff. We got the bifold panels with the mirror. We got our canvas around the outside. This is what I was talking about with the smaller windows. So standard issue, you got your bug screen, you got your weather screen, and then you got your like blackout curtain deal here. This canvas also has an additional feature that we don't have installed right now, but we do have. It's a second layer of insulation. They call it a thermal pack, and it velcros up here, and there's normally a strip of velcro down here that the thermal pack velcros to, and it gives you additional insulation for summer and winter. It just helps regulate the heat a little bit better with the soft siding. Just like our old camper, this has a terrible slider. These sliders suck. They all suck. Maybe it'll get replaced, maybe it won't, we'll find out. This camper also has these window shades, which is an option. That's sweet that it came with those. So in our old camper, we had like a curtain rod that our window shades were on, and so these slide on the rail, which is really nice, and it makes it a lot easier to use. Over here we have a little back window. We got the big side window that folds out. That's also, that bigger piece of glass right there is a safety exit, just in case you need to get out of here and the back door is locked or blocked for some reason. This is the rollover couch. That's what they call it in 4-wheel camper land. So this converts into a bed just like our old one did, but the old one was a pain in the ass to convert into a bed, and this one's much easier. You just grab it and it tumbles down and turns into another bed. Over here you can also see we have a ton of storage space that's behind the couch, so you can put duffel bags and all kinds of crap back there, which is really sweet. So that's another area for storage in this camper. Over in the kitchen galley area, we have a standard 2-burner stove like our old camper. We also have a little sink. This is the stock sink, so it's not nearly as deep as our old one. And then we have hot and cold water on the faucet. This is our refrigerator. It's a Norcold. It's an older 3-way fridge. It's really large. So on these campers, you can option different sizes of fridges. This is the biggest one you can option. It works off of battery, shore power, and propane. But this one doesn't work at all. And it smells really stinky on the inside, and it's moldy, and it's going to go away pretty quickly. We're going to replace this with just a regular 12-volt fridge. That's way more efficient. So on the cabinet face, we have a couple things. We have a 110-volt plug. This only works when this thing's plugged into shore power. We are going to get an inverter and install it in this to make that work when we can use it when we're out camping and not plugged into shore power. We got a little you know, standard 12-volt socket receptacle like you'd have in your car. We have a couple little pull-out drawers here. This is their heater, so this is where the heat comes out when you're heating the camper. We have another little storage area there, and another storage area there, and another drawer right there, a little bit bigger. We also have some storage down here. On this side, this is where our electrics are. That's where the fuse panel is and stuff like that. That's all going to get changed. Over here, this is our heater thermostat control. And then down here, this is a little 4-wheel camper meter. So this is where our pump switch is to turn our water pump on and off. And this little monitor button, if you press that, it'll tell you how much water you have in your water tank and how much battery voltage you have in your battery.
All right, so I wanted to share a little bit about sort of what are the knocks of the camper just on first impressions, things we aren't loving at the moment. First and foremost, the fluorescent lighting. It feels like a dentist's office in here. This is obviously changeable, and we are going to do that as soon as possible. Everything in here is tan and white, and it just feels like really dated on the interior. We would like to update the interior just to feel a little bit more sort of our style. The sink, the faucet is really short. Our old one was much bigger and came into the sink base a lot further, which made doing dishes a lot easier. So we're going to swap that out as soon as we can. Underneath here, the storage under this is much smaller than in our old camper. This is kind of it. Whereas in our old camper, this whole area was open for us to put stuff in. The reason that there's less space down here is because the hot water heater is back here, and it's a tanked hot water heater. And so it's bigger than our old one, and it takes up more room. The plus side of that is that it works way better than our other hot water heater. So it's kind of worth it to lose the storage space. We're just gonna have to figure out where we're gonna put stuff, which is a fixable problem. We found out from our Alaska trip that we don't use as much stuff as we thought we did. So we actually don't have that much stuff. Something else I don't love, I'm the one who does all the cooking. This counter is really high.
I love that. It's great.
It's great for Henry because he's too tall. But for me, the one who does all of the cooking, this is actually a little too high. So today I had to like stand on top of the bench while I was cutting things in order to be able to do it. So we're going to have to figure something out for that. Just because like I'm up like this. It's a little uncomfortable. I also, because of the fridge thing, right now have less workable counter space because I definitely can't use this if I'm having a hard time using this. So this is great for like setting stuff on, which is what we're using it for right now, but I have less workable counter space, which is a little bit of a bummer. Something else that I don't love, I love how deep this is because it means our bed gets to be deeper and nicer. The downside to that is that my windows are way higher and I actually can't see out the window at like sort of ground level anymore the way that I could in our old camper. I loved looking out while I was cooking and seeing nature. Now I get a beautiful view of the sky and the trees that are above us, which is nice, but it's a little bit of a bummer that I can't just see all around me. So given how how tall I am, which is 5'7", I can really only see up or down out of this camper. Nothing is like at my eye level, which is kind of a bummer.
Okay, so this is now the front view of the camper. One really sweet thing about this camper is still has the sliding window, which is awesome because our truck also has a sliding window, which means you can get into this camper while you're driving. They stopped doing this not long after this camper because I guess they were having problems with people complaining about them leaking. So it's amazing that we have that feature in this camper. This is our bed area. As you can see, it's really large. It's not even actually pulled out. So this is the extra pull-out piece, and we have 2 extra cushions that go into this area. So it makes the bed way larger. It's about a queen-size bed. And you can also see in here, there's the windows in the bed area, which is really sweet. And then there's also, there's a lot of space. This is what I was talking about. The roof comes down to here, so we have all this area for bedding, which previously our mattress pretty much came all the way up to here, which meant it was really difficult to close the roof. Additionally, in here, we also have a fan, a powered fan, which is really amazing. That was something that was also optioned into this camper, and I didn't have to add like I did on our old camper. So storage wise for this camper, we covered the kitchen storage, but there's some additional storage here. So one thing that's really sweet about this camper is even though it's a shorter camper, it still has this additional cushion area here, and there's some cabinetry under here. This is some light storage. It's really shallow, and that's because the 20-gallon water tank is actually coming from this area and going across right here. Now we're looking at the camper underneath the bench seat. So this is some more storage. This compartment here is our battery. Like I said, there's just one single battery right here. It's just an Odyssey AGM. This is just storage in the bench area. Same over here. It's nice that these are on hinges. That's something our old camper didn't have, which was a real pain in the neck. And then in addition to that, we have our Boxio toilet. So under this area, it's open and we can put our toilet under there for easy access, which is really sweet. They set it up that way. So the storage is definitely a little bit better laid out in this camper. Obviously in our old camper, even though we had a big cabinet here, we couldn't use any of it because all of our batteries and water and stuff was in there. So the fact that we don't have that now is really no loss because we didn't have it previously before either. So I also wanted to cover why we bought this generation of campers specifically. So after working at the 4-wheel camper dealer for a while, I've seen a bunch of these campers, and what became clear to me is that this generation of camper is the first of what I consider the modern 4-wheel campers. So this camper in form is very, very similar to all the brand new 4-wheel camper Hawks that come out. And what I mean by that is the cabinet is very similar, like the kitchen cabinetry is very similar. The actual depth of the bed and how that all works is all very similar to the modern 4-wheel campers. But this is being kind of the first generation of that from 2004 to 2009, I believe, that made this series of campers. It's got some of the awesome stuff that the old one still had, like this window, which I mentioned before. The back door is actually way larger. In a couple, the next generation 4-wheel campers switched to doors being outsourced, and they're way crappier. So that was a big thing for me as well. And also, honestly, these are the most affordable new 4-wheel campers that you can get. So the resale market on 4-wheel campers is really strong. Campers that can be, 7, 8 years old can be $20,000-$30,000 easily, and we bought this for the low tens, which was a really awesome deal. With that said, being a bit of an older 4-wheel camper, there are some things that we definitely want to upgrade. I know Gracie mentioned a couple of things as far as aesthetics and functionality in the kitchen area. Systems wise, this thing needs a bunch of stuff. So the water system's great. We have a 20-gallon water tank and a 4-gallon tanked water heater and an outdoor shower that works really well. But the power system's terrible. It's got a single battery. Right now, it's just an AGM battery that I had laying around. It's got no solar panel. It's got no DC to DC charger. It's just a battery isolator switch that works awfully. So we got some upgrades that we want to do in that department. We're going to put a 200-watt solar panel on the roof. We're probably going to do 200 at least amp hours of lithium ion batteries. We're going to put a 1200-watt 1200-watt inverter in this. We're also going to do a solar charge controller for the solar panel and also a DC to DC charger, which is going to charge our battery way quicker and be compatible with a lithium ion battery. Another thing is we're going to do Starlink. So we had Starlink 3 on our previous camper. We actually ended up selling the Starlink 3 because the Starlink Mini came out and it's just way easier to integrate in a camper. So we're going to pick up a Starlink Mini, and I'd like to do a flat mount that's mounted on the roof so that we don't have to mess around with setting it up, and that should work great. One other thing that this camper is missing that we don't have that we're probably going to add is it does not have a table. So if you wanted to work in the camper or whatever, play video games or use a laptop or whatever it might be, you don't really have that option right now. But I'm thinking what we'll do is we'll get a Lagoon mount and mount it down here or on this face over here, and we'll make a little swivel table and be able to use it in this area here so that we can work on our laptops and do stuff when we're on the road. One thing to mention is we had a knockoff Lagoon table mount in our old camper, and it was awful. I hated it. So it's definitely worth spending the money for the real Lagoon.